Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Get out of Afghanistan, and in order to get out of Afghanistan, you've got to have an anti-war candidate challenging Obama in the Democratic primaries, and that begins 1 year from now. That begins with the Iowa straw poll at some point during July of 2011. End the war. Obama is now the warmonger in chief. He is the aggressive imperialist running the show. So drop your inhibitions and challenge Obama in these primaries. One other point concerning this monstrous lame duck session coming up, right? This is this Erskine Bowles, Al Simpson, and this guy, he wants to strip old people of everything they've got. He wants to leave them nothing but their eyes to cry with. If that, you've got Rivlin, the deficit ghoul. You've got these predatory, feral Republicans like Ryan and Hensarling, right? They're essentially the mentality of a rip-off used car salesman. But you've also got Andy Stern, Andy Stern, SEIU. Now, the line here on Andy Stern has always been scab union, company union. A union that goes in, and the typical practice was if you had black janitors earning $15 an hour, Andy Stern would go in and try to organize the place, and he'd get illegal Hispanic janitors coming in for $8 or $9 an hour, but they'd be paying into the treasury of Andy Stern, and he could say that he's organizing people. He's organizing them by switching everything into a low-wage, rock-bottom method. And we now see, now that he's out of SEIU, the same mentality goes on. Huffington Post on the 30th of June prints that Andy Stern, who is a member of this monstrous Erskine Bowles, Al Simpson, Peterson ripoff commission, is pushing to invest a significant portion of the Social Security Trust Fund in private companies through the stock market. The ripoff. The National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform says, according to Stern, we need, like any pension fund, to bring Social Security back into balance. We need to invest some percentage of government money in the stock market. Look, go back 10 years. Where was the Dow? Around 10,000. Higher than it is today, actually. 10 years ago, it was, depending on the month that you pick, in the year 2000. The stock market has gone nowhere for a decade. Where do you get this idea that money put into the stock market grows? It's false. It's not true. The stock market is, I think the estimate is it's been back and forth across the 10,000 mark on the Dow 65, 70 times over the last decade. It just went below, right? Today, as we're recording, we're down to about 96.50 and we're headed south. Minus about 1% today. Where's this fetish, this obsession that the money in the stock market goes up? You've also got to watch out because the Social Security Works website, Nancy Altman, is also in favor of putting money into Wall Street. We don't need that. We need to tax Wall Street. We'll put Wall Street money into Social Security. We're not going to put Social Security money into Wall Street. How about that? Don't put Social Security money into Wall Street. Put Wall Street money into Social Security. Tobin tax, Wall Street sales tax, securities transfer tax. That does it. You can also simply remove the cap on the Social Security payroll tax and let everybody pay it. Everybody with wage income, no matter what it is, can very well, or self-employment, because you have to pay it there. That's quite oppressive. Don't let Stephen the Ratner put your money into Wall Street as he did with the New York State pension funds. And, of course, this is the fees that they would get, the brokerage fees, and the inevitable attempt to maintain these stock market bubbles. It's just impossible. So the commission is packed with deficit ghouls and deficit hyenas, and their goal is to gouge Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, use the proceeds for what? For endless war in Afghanistan, and above all, for bailouts for the Wall Street jackals. So this is no good. Now, the Kagan nomination. Kagan, of course, is an oligarch. Kagan is a totalitarian liberal. And this gets us back to our theme of Keynes. This is what Keynes was. You look at the British economy during World War II and for a decade thereafter, and look at the oppressive. This is the time when Orwell was writing 1984, right? 1948. He was confronted by the totalitarian liberal state, which had been designed according to Keynesian prescriptions. Kagan says that she sees no inalienable rights of human beings apart from the Constitution. In other words, the Constitution gave you your rights. Wrong. Your rights come, some people say your rights come from God. That's perfectly acceptable if you want to put it that way. My own way of putting this is that your rights come from natural law. Your rights come from the ontology of societal being. They come from the metaphysics of human economy and human social reproduction. You've got to have those rights because those rights guarantee your ability to contribute to economic progress through scientific discoveries, through artistic creativity, and simply through learning, simply through your ability to assimilate existing levels of science, technology, and overall culture. In other words, your inalienable rights are rooted in economic necessity as well as in natural law. So there is a metaphysics or ontology of social being. Things that are universal and necessary in the human condition is if you don't get scientific discoveries coming out of individual minds that have been fostered for this purpose, you will have stagnation, you will have economic breakdown. Of course, those discoveries have got to be solidified as technology and then realized as industry, capital goods, and so forth. But at the same time, the mental capital of your workforce has got to be proceeding pari passu along the same path. So Kagan is a totalitarian, and you can see she thinks banning books is fine. She's in favor of government snooping. She's very intrusive. This candidate deserves to be repudiated, but of course in today's world she is a shoo-in because of course the reactionary Republicans object to her, but not enough to do anything to stop her. So as an opposition, these people are useless. In government, they're even worse. So a third party, a third force. Don't choose between Republicans and Democrats. Don't choose between reactionaries and Wall Street stooges. But it's time for a programmatic alternative to that. In this context, Robert Byrd died, Senator. It would be foolish to idealize him. However, one could say that he represents a very rare phenomenon, at least in the final form of his career, say in the last 20 years of his legislative career. He qualifies as the very rare species, a conservative, with all the positive and negative aspects of being a conservative. He was a traditionalist. He gave a series of speeches in the Senate about the history of the United States Senate. He believed very much in the Senate, which at points I thought led him into exaggerations, things that were just not realistic about the history of the Senate. But the big thing about Byrd is this would show you the difference between a conservative and a reactionary, because the majority of Republicans, of course, are reactionaries. They are at war with the status quo. Byrd, as a traditionalist, was full of respect for the status quo, even for what I would call the negative features of the status quo. Two or three moments in Byrd's career, maybe, to recall. And everybody knows the Ku Klux Klan story, so let that be put aside, right? De mortuis nihil nisi bonum. Concerning the dead, we say nothing except the good. So let's say two or three good things about Byrd in the next segment.